4 years ago today, I sat down with President Obama for an interview about the biggest health care overhaul in a lifetime, the Affordable Care Act. The House would vote on the bill 3 days after that interview. How many uninsured Americans would really be covered? How would it change the quality of care for everyone else who already had insurance? And could it actually insure all the extra people and bring down the deficit as promised?
For the vast majority of people, their health care is not going to change because right now they're getting a better deal. They'll have more security.
So how can
the notion,
you guarantee that they're not going to be able to keep their doctor?
Brad, you got to let me finish my answers.
But sir, I know you don't like the filibuster.
Well, I'm trying to answer your questions, and you keep on interrupting. So let me be clear. Now, you keep on repeating the notion that it's 1/6 of the economy. Yes, it's 1/6 of the economy, but we're not transforming 1/6 of the economy all in one fell swoop. What we're saying is that for the vast majority of people who have health care, they're going to be able to keep it. This notion that this has been not transparent, that people don't know what's in the bill. Everybody knows what's in the bill. I sat for 7 hours.
Mr. President, you couldn't tell me what the special deals are that are in or not today.
I just told you what was
Is Connecticut in?
Not in. Connecticut. What are you specifically referring to?
$100 million for the hospital. Is Montana in for the asbestos program? This is real money.
Absolutely.
People are worried about this stuff. Today, 2 weeks before the March 31st deadline for open enrollment, as HHS announces it has reached a milestone of 5 million enrollees, we revisit those questions and see how things have panned out. Over the next 5 days, an Obamacare checkup, starting tonight, with a look at how we got to this point.
The right to adequate medical care and the opportunity to achieve and enjoy good health.
I've repeatedly asked the Congress to pass a health program.
Now is our chance to beat the historical odds and give the American people the health security they need and deserve.
I have a universal health care plan that will cover every American. By the end of my first term as President of the United States, we will have universal health care in this country. I suffer no illusions that this will be an easy process. Once again, it will be hard.
We oppose is universal government-run health care. Health care decisions should be made by doctors and patients, not by government bureaucrats.
The yeas are 60, the nays are 39. H.R. 3590 as amended, the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act is passed.
And now they're going to have to go home and face the music, and it's not going to be Christmas carols. This is really the unwanted gift of 2009.
I don't think that you can answer the question in the positive to say that people will be able to maintain their coverage, people will be able to see the doctors they want in the kind of bill that you're proposing.
Well, let me, since you asked me a question, let me respond. The 8 to 9 million people that you refer to that might have to change their coverage, keep in mind out of the 300 million Americans that we're talking about, would be folks who the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, estimates would find the deal in the exchange better. Brett, the core of this bill is going to be affecting every American family. If you have insurance, you're going to be able to keep it. If you don't have insurance, you're going to be able to buy into a pool like members of Congress have.
We're going to continue to work closely together and to do everything that we can do to make sure that this bill never, ever, ever passes.
We're doing this one for the American people.
On this vote, the yeas are 219, the nays are 212. The motion to concur in the Senate amendment is adopted.
Today, after all the votes have been tallied, health insurance reform becomes law in the United States of America.
This is the Obamacare legislation, signed into law. It's more than 2,700 pages long. That's already pretty hefty. But the Health and Human Services Department, HHS, has a lot of leeway because of how these 2,700 pages are written. So to adjust this law, HHS would write new rules or regulations. And if you add all of those up, it is more than 21,000 pages so far. Obamacare and the rules and regulations associated with it stack up to at least 7 feet high. Again, so far. And you can imagine trying to interpret all of these regulations while rolling out a massive new law has been anything but smooth.
If you don't have health insurance, or if you buy it on the individual market, then starting this Tuesday, October 1st, you can visit healthcare.gov to find what's called the health insurance marketplace in your state.
I tried basically every day since it opened, and eventually I got through about 15 days in.
You would think they would have tested it and retested it before the rollout on October 1st, and they promised that it would work on October 1st, and of course it has not worked.
Yeah.
The screen says, I'm sorry, our system is temporarily down.
Well, it's okay. It'll come back. You know, that happens every day.
I want to apologize to you that the website has not worked as well as it should.
Nobody's been more frustrated. I wanted to go in and fix it myself, but I don't write code, so.
Well, I think success looks like at least 7 million people having signed up by the end of March 2014.
We may not get to 7, but we're going to get to 5 or 6, and that's a hell of a start.
How many of those that have signed up, that have enrolled in Obamacare, have paid their premium?
I can't tell you that, sir, because I don't know that.
How can it be that HHS, in charge of this program, cites a number, 4.2 million people signed up, but has no idea how many people have paid?
Nothing in this plan will require you or your employer to change your coverage or your doctor.
If you like your plan and you like your doctor, you won't have to do a thing. You keep your plan. You keep your doctor.
For the average person, many of folks who don't have health insurance initially, they're going to have to make some choices, and they might end up having to switch doctors, in part because they're saving money.
Along with the issues with healthcare.gov and the number of people who have not signed up, there have been 34 Obamacare delays and administrative fixes since 2012. Some of the delays were due to the administration having trouble meeting the law's own deadlines, while others have been to appease the critics of Obamacare and those who began receiving cancellation notices.
We received our letter. I think now in the state of Washington we're up to 290,000 of us that canceled our 25-year policy with an insurance company that we were really happy with.
I'll be paying about $550 a month more.
People who have plans that predate the Affordable Care Act can keep those plans if they haven't changed. Today we're going to extend that principle both to people whose plans have changed since the law took effect and to people who bought plans since the law took effect.
We're doing this because it makes sense for insurers to have as clear a sense of the pool of consumers they gain in the market this year before setting rates for next year. And because of the problems in the implementation of the website on healthcare.gov that we've experienced that has slowed enrollment in the early stages here.
Another day, another delay. President Obama slamming the brakes on another key part of his namesake health care law.
How can a president that puts his hand on the Bible and takes an oath to uphold the laws of the United States do this? What authority does he have to do that?
This is something they've been asking for. Now he does it, they're complaining. I mean, this is somewhat illogical.
The president has delayed this, delayed that, delayed this. And at some point, the American people are going to have to understand, here's what else is coming at you. More people are going to lose their policies over the next couple of years.
I am absolutely confident that you will see millions of people benefiting from this law.
Are you going to delay the mandate that individuals have to buy government-approved health care or pay a tax?
No, sir.
Are you going to delay the open enrollment beyond March 31st?
No, sir.
As we head towards that March 31st deadline, our special Obamacare Checkup series continues. Tomorrow, can Obamacare really provide coverage for all Americans? Let's bring in our panel right now to talk about this. Steve Hayes, senior writer for the Weekly Standard, A.B. Stoddard, associate editor of The Hill, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. Charles, you saw the timeline there from the beginning. Thoughts?
Well, you go back to you interviewing the president and watching him. At the time, there were all kinds of problems you were throwing at him, and he pretended everything was explainable. Looking at it now retrospectively, knowing what we know, it is clear that his responses were disinformation, deception to some extent, and dissimulation. I mean, he kept saying, we all know what's in the bill. He kept assuring people that it was, they were going to keep their doctors, keep their insurance, and it is clear at the time, today, that they knew at the time that wasn't true. Essentially, they presented it as a way to fill in a gap of those uninsured, and it was not. It was a deliberate way to use that problem, which is a real human problem, to revolutionize, to rewrite, to essentially nationalize through hyper-regulation the American medical system, and we can see that is true in every aspect. You talk to any doctor, any hospital administrator, they will tell you how this is changing everything all at once in a way that is entirely unpredictable but looks disastrous.
AB, HHS is saying 5 million enrollees as of today. They're not obviously telling us the same things they haven't been telling us, which are how many have paid and how many had insurance before.
Right. If you look at the initial estimate, which was they needed 7 million, they needed 40% of their new insured to be young and less risky as opposed to the sick and the elderly. They also needed paying customers, and we still don't know from HHS whether or not an enrollee is someone who's paid an insurance company for a policy and they're indeed insured. And we don't know what the effect of all the waivers and extensions have been. So we don't know how many people, in the lack of compliance, how that's going to change the system. A lot has to go right very quickly for prices to remain affordable and insurance companies not to raise prices for next year.
Steve, when you stand next to that bill and then you stand next to the 7-foot-high regulation stack, it's pretty stark.
It is, and look, we knew that was going to happen. I mean, part of what the bill did was create the shell inside of which all of these regulations were going to be promulgated. We knew that from the beginning. It's not a surprise that it's as big as it is, but I agree with you. It's stark when you actually look at it that way. Look, the 5 million enrollee number is nonsense. All of the previous enrollee numbers have been nonsense. When you can't account for how many people have actually paid the first month's premium, those numbers become virtually meaningless. We don't know how many people are actual enrollees. And I think, you know, when historians go back and look at this period of the sign-ups and all the controversy, they're going to go back and say, it's amazing that the media reported these as actual enrollments when we know that they're not actual enrollments. One final point, the talk of delays. I think what stuck out in the timeline there is the talk of delays. When Republicans were proposing delays of the individual mandate, it was anti-American and unpatriotic. Now that the president has done it multiple times, it's a shrug of the shoulders.
The irony is that by some estimates from the insurers, only 1 in 10 of the people now enrolled are people who are uninsured. So 9 out of 10 had insurance that had everything disrupted. So the original goal of this was to insure the uninsured. It's not doing that. It's disrupting all the other people who had it. And the second irony is you look at the stack of the papers and all the bill and all the legislation and the regulation, but in fact nobody has any idea what the law is because it changes at the whim of the president every Wednesday morning. So there really is no bill. It exists in his head.
10 seconds here, AB. Meantime, Republicans are still trying to unify around one alternative.
They can't really coalesce behind one consensus plan. So what they're doing is they put some principles together. It doesn't mean there's going to be a big House vote or a Senate vote or anything like that. It's a way to go out to the American people and say, as the system collapses, we put together a response and a plan to make changes next year.
The hunt for answers about Flight 370 turns to the pilots. We'll weigh in on the latest developments with the Fox All-Stars next.